There you go. Make sure you got your, there's Chewy. Hey, Chooch. All right, so yeah, we're just gonna get a nice, kind of warm up here, warm up the body all over. Just do a little all over stuff. Sound good? All right. So make it to your mat and find a comfortable.
All right, warm me up.
And we'll start there. So if you want to sit up on a block, yeah, you can do that. Or just have a seat. Yeah. Anything that feels good and comfortable to you. And once you're there, you've kind of wiggled and jiggled and, kind of taken inventory of letting everything go. Let the hands just relax somewhere on the thighs or the knees, and close the eyes. And this is yoga. Right? This is how we make time to match the body with the breath, to clear away the clutter, the noise, shichivriti, so that we can, as the yogis believe, hopefully listen to that inner knowing. Tap into the best part of ourselves. Without judgment. Just allowing ourselves, giving ourselves permission to be with ourselves. Kind of like being with a friend. We don't do that. It's strange, right? We live in this container. And most of our time is spent paying attention to so many other things that are outside of maybe what we really need to elevate ourselves, energize ourselves, to free ourselves. Right? And those things have to get done. It's important, just like we fill up a car with gas, right? It's important that we fill ourselves up as well. So that's why we come to the mat. Letting the breath simply move through you, feeling the sitting bones rooting down, shoulder blades melting down the back. Little squeeze of the inner thighs together, start to energize here. And as we sort of draw those thighs towards one another, we sort of feel ourselves sitting up just a little bit taller. We can begin to increase the breath, inhaling a little bit more deeply, feeling a bit more fully, just in and out. And maybe setting an intention for yourself for your class today. I've been sitting with words like thank you and gratitude and joy. And how do you find joy in the midst of what we perceive as our problems? How do we find gratitude? How do we say thank you? Because we really don't know what's on the other side of that. Bringing the palms together at heart center, lifting the elbows slightly. We'll greet each other today with the sound of one Om. And it's just nice to be in community and just sort of feel your own voice. So take a deep breath in and exhale, let it go. And an inhale for Om. Om. And opening the eyes, you can release the hands. We're just going to make it onto our back. Once you're down, roll down. Find a little bit of tilting action in the pelvis. Maybe a couple of little rolls in the pelvis up and down until you can flatten your spine, against the mat. So we're finding some length here. And then we're going to cross that right ankle over the left leg. And then all I want you to do simply here, before we even lift that left leg, is press that right knee away. You can even take your right hand onto the knee and just actively press it away from you, right? So you're moving towards that top of the mat. Couple deep breaths. This might feel good or it might hurt. For me, it actually hurts because I pulled some muscle in my right hip. So I'm really struggling with this side. All right. We're just going to begin now to slowly lift that left leg. Again, flexing into both feet, finding our supine pigeon. I'm just going to keep pressing that right knee away as we lift that left leg. If you want to keep that knee bent, you can. You can always straighten it if that feels better. But just try to keep that flexion in the feet, yeah? So we're pressing the heel away energetically. We're kind of stretching a little bit into the calf and the arch of the foot. One more breath here. And then let that right knee or that right ankle simply come off the knee and draw both knees into the chest. So we're going to just kind of take a very simple, not a full-on happy baby, but just peel the knees apart and see if you can't reach down and grab somewhere on your leg. Maybe it's the calf, maybe it's the ankle, maybe it's the feet, right? And we're not going to go into a full-on happy baby. We're just going to explore just a little bit of an opening here, right? Holding onto the feet or the ankles, widening the legs, and I want you to find the elbows moving into the inner, like the inner knee area, right? So the inner leg. And we're just going to take a second here and we're going to do some oppositional kind of pushing the knees in towards one another and then pushing out with the arms, right? So we're not moving, but we can all of a sudden, oh, we feel the belly starting to turn on a little bit more, the thighs starting to work a little bit harder. Okay. Last breath and slowly release. Bring both feet to the floor. Just take a breath. That should feel kind of nice. You got a little tingling maybe happening in the legs. And then go ahead and begin to cross that left ankle over the right knee. We're pressing slightly forward with the right foot. We're making sure that that spine is nice and long on the mat. And then that left hand comes to the left thigh and we push the leg away. Right? We don't want to like heave it. We want to be gentle and kind to ourselves. We want to just kind of feel a little something happening in that inner groin area, that inner thigh. And then let that right leg begin to float off the floor. We're going to bring our hands around the back of that right leg. Again, keeping that flexion in both feet. Maybe you'd like to stretch that right leg up, or you can keep it bent. Yogi's choice. It's always nice to have choices. One more breath here. Good. And then just gently again slide that leg off the right leg, and we're going to grab hold again, just like we did before. Little modified happy baby. And then this time, you can keep your hands where they were before, or You can maybe bring your hands into like a prayer position. So we look like we're in malasana or squat pose, but we're on our back, right? So we're pressing the inner elbow or the elbows into the inner knee and the inner thigh. And we're breathing here. We can feel the tailbone lengthening as we draw that low back down. Feet are flexed. Last breath or two here. Lift the belly in and up. Shoulder blades are relaxed. Good. Bring the knees into the chest. Maybe this time we round up and bring the forehead towards the knees. And then we slowly rock up and down along the spine until we come into a table position. So onto hands and knees we go. Pressing the tops of our feet into the mat. We're pushing the mat away from us, right? So that's the work here. It's sort of like that buoyancy, right? We want to think about like that ball bouncing. So as we press down, we lift up energetically. Drawing the chin into the chest, round the spine. Find that nice cat back here. Drawing the shoulder blades apart from one another. And then inhale, look up, let that spine just relax, and then the tailbone lifts. Go ahead and give it a little wag, a little shake. Again, round into the back, chin to the chest, pull the belly in. And then inhale, open it up, shoulder blades draw towards each other, elbow creases moving forward, lift. This time as we round and we pull the belly in, I want you to tuck your toes under. Keep the chin into the chest and then hover the knees about an inch off the floor. Pulling the belly in, oh yeah. And release the knees. Go ahead and find that cow. Tilt, gazing up. Again, exhale, round, pull that belly in, and we're gonna lift again. Finding those knees hovering. I know, you can do it. Hover, hover. Release the knees. Again, let the tailbone lift. Nice stretch here. Last time, chin to chest, hover, and slowly press yourself back up into a downward facing dog. Taking your time. Pedaling out the feet, bending one knee, then the other. Make sure that you're rolling those shoulder blades, right? Externally, so away from the ears, you're wrapping them down. Nice, full deep breaths. And we're going to walk our hands back to our feet. So we're going to make our way to the back of the mat. Hanging over in Uttanasana, forward fold, and bend the knees, right? Just kind of start off with this nice bend in the knees. Bring that chin in, shake that head, yes and no, loosen the shoulders. Just kind of get it all out. And then let those hands slowly come up onto the thighs and start to press yourself up all the way to stand, nice and slow. Maybe bring those feet right underneath the hips. Inhale, reach those arms up to the sky. Nice deep breath here. Draw those shoulder blades down the back and let the palms face one another, right? So we're in this mountain pose and our fingertips are reaching towards the sky. Feel how the chest can expand. Slowly exhale, let those arms come out to the side, hinge at the hips, bend the knees maybe, and then sweep your hands back to the floor. Walk your hands out, we're back into our downward facing dog. Maybe you'd like to pull those feet apart again a little bit. And then inhale, come forward. We're gonna come onto the knees. So I'm bringing my knees a little bit behind my hips. Belly is gonna be drawing in and I'm gonna lift my legs and cross at the ankles. So shift slightly forward so that the shoulders are coming over the hands. We're gonna rotate those elbow creases towards the top of the mat. And we're just gonna come down as far as you want to go, hovering with the elbows into the body, right? We're doing like a baby push-up and press back up. Let's do that again, slightly coming forward. Elbows moving in towards the ribs, pressing up. You can go down as far as you like. Last time. Coming back up. Release the feet. And then I want you to just let those hips settle onto the mat. Roll the shoulders back so we're in this cobra position, yeah? We're stretching into that low back. Nice. Pressing up, find child's pose. Bring the hips to the heels. The forehead can come to the floor or onto a block. Like that feels better. Take a nice stretch here in child's pose. And then we're going to increase that stretch, right? So we're going to lift ourselves up onto those fingertips. Maybe the head does lift now. Keep making sure that that tailbone is moving backwards, right? We're just finding as much length as we possibly can here. And then walk your right fingers off the mat, followed by the left until you feel a nice stretch in the left side body. Bringing those hands back through center, taking the left hand off the mat, the right hand anywhere that feels comfortable for you, dropping that right shoulder down and just really finding again that personal stretch. Do you feel a lengthening in that right side body here, this little side bend? Good. And then coming back to center, let's go ahead and lift ourselves back up into a table. We're going to tuck our toes under again and find downward facing dog. Let's find a nice neutral breath here. If you feel like you want to take a big falling out breath, this is a good time to do that too. Nice deep breath in and exhale fully, letting it go. And then we're going to look forward this time and walk to the front of the mat. So with the feet at the front of the mat, again, maybe the toes are together, or maybe they're just about hips width distance apart. Drop the head, shake it out. Maybe you take hold of opposite elbows here. Maybe you wrap your hands behind the calves. Maybe you take a little bit more of a bend in the knees, right? Remember, we're working on that folding action, which means that we're trying not to round so much into our back. So if that requires us to bend our knees a little bit more, then do that. Hands come onto the thighs and we push ourselves up into a standing position. Let that blood just kind of rush back down. Breathing in, exhaling. Inhale, arms come up. Drop that tailbone, press those heels away from one another. And then swan dive back over the feet. Again, maybe it's that bend in the knees to get that flat back and then release the hands to the floor. We're going to step back with the left foot followed by the right, back into our downward facing dog. Slightly coming forward, let's come back down onto the knees. Cross the other ankle on top this time. It's probably the one that feels weird. I didn't tell you which one to do the first time. Belly lifts. Begin to draw the upper body slightly forward. Turn those elbow creases forward. And then slowly come down and back up. It's your pace. 3 times. I trust you. Yeah. Really working those arms here. Tricep muscles. Release the feet. Rotate those shoulder blades back, drop the hips and open the chest. Your gaze is forward. This nice strong cobra. And then we're going to tuck those toes under, press back to a table, and then find downward facing dog. So we're not doing a child's pose this time. Moving back into downward facing dog. Looking forward, step the right foot between your hands, come down onto the left knee. Now this is where you might want to block. So take your blocks and we're just going to come up into a low lunge. So setting ourselves up into a low lunge position. Draw that left hip forward. Again, you can always touch your own body and just kind of see where you are in space. That left hip's going to come forward so they're nice and even. Hands are going to come onto the hips, maybe slightly sinking forward, so we're getting a little bit of a stretch in that left quadricep muscle. Nice deep breaths here, chest is open. And then we're going to hinge. So we're just going to maybe walk those blocks back a little bit, hinging forward, hands again, somewhere on those blocks, come up onto the heel if that feels good, or you can point the toes. Again, this could be a yogi's choice. And we're going to twist here, yeah? So we're going to take our right hand to the right hip. Left hand is going to stay on the block, and I want you to begin to turn to the right. We're just going to keep our hand on the hip and sort of sexy roll that right shoulder back. Looking back, if you can. And then coming back through center. Good. Walk those blocks off the mat. Hands frame that right foot. Let's go ahead and lift that back leg and twist to the right. So that right arm is going to reach up to the sky. So we're in a lunge position with that right arm, look up. Or I should say, look up to that right arm. Right arm comes back to the floor. We step the right foot back to meet the left in downward dog. Going to the other side, step the left foot between your hands, come down onto the knee. Again, take those blocks, set yourself up in a nice low lunge. So we're sort of moving slowly here, and we want to really feel how we can position the body in the best possible way. That tailbone is lengthening. We're lifting up through the ribs. Right, we're getting a little bit of a stretch in that right quadricep here. And then we're going to slowly begin to straighten that left leg. And as we do, maybe we walk those blocks back. Again, chest is staying lifted, right? We're not rounding into the back. This is why we need those blocks. Maybe a slight hinge forward if that feels good. And then we're going to slowly start to twist. So I do the right foot. I did the same foot again, didn't I? No, I didn't. We're just going to open, take the hand onto the left leg and twist to the left. Sometimes I worry about myself. So again, we're just sort of sexy rolling that shoulder open. I want you to feel how that chest is starting to twist to the left, gazing behind you. And then coming back through center, rebend that leg, walk the blocks off the mat, hands come to the floor. We're gonna lift that back leg up, stretch that chest forward, and then open to the left. Maybe that gaze lifts and looks up at those left fingers. Maybe it's straight ahead. All right, let that left hand float down, stepping that left foot back to meet the right. And again, we're in downward facing dog. Let's go ahead and come back onto those knees, yeah? So a little bit of those little girl push-ups here. We're starting to get used to this now. Hopefully you're starting to get nice and warm. Go ahead and exhale halfway down and inhale, lift. Starting to feel that those tricep muscles really turning on. And then release the feet, release the hips. Breathe, open that chest. This time we're going to take those hips back to the heels for a gentle child's pose for a couple of breaths. Not many, just a few. Hips to heels, forehead to the floor. You can do anything here that feels good to you. If you'd rather take some other position other than child's pose, you can do that too. Right? Remember, it's your practice. Moving back onto hands and knees. Let's go ahead and tuck those toes again. Oh, lift those hips up. Nice deep breaths in and out. And then looking forward, let's find our way back to the top of the mat. You can jump or you can walk. Release everything down. Press out through the feet. Bend those knees. Hands onto the shins, lift the chest. We're in a chair pose here. And then let those hands come to prayer. Lifting the elbows, shift your weight back. Slowly release back to the floor. Step it back, downward facing dog. We're gonna have that left foot stay heavy and that right leg is gonna reach up. We're gonna curl the knee into the chest for a little cheetah here. Lift those hips. Pressing it back. Let's do that one more time. Draw that knee into the chest. Pull yourself away from the floor. And then step the right foot between your hands. We're going to come into warrior one. So pop your back foot in. Toes are turned out. And then as you're ready, you're going to come up. Again, maybe those hands come to the hips. This is a closed hip position. So we want to feel that left hip moving forward, yeah? Once we feel like we have our base situated, our front foot's moving forward, reach those palms up to the ceiling. Shoulder blades down, arms are straight. Notice if you have any tension in the face or in the neck, try to release that. Nice, long, full, deep breaths. Hold and strength and peace. And then bringing the palms to heart center. We're going to find a little bit of a balance challenge here in a little modified warrior three. So you have your blocks if you want to use them rather than keeping your hands in space. We're going to shift forward onto that right foot, yeah? We're just going to pop that left foot in. So if we know we're going to want those blocks, we can just grab them and put them out in front of us and slowly begin to lift that back leg and use those blocks to help us with this balancing on our right foot as that left foot is kicking back. If you feel like you don't need those blocks, keep those hands at heart center. Bringing that same action, right? So we're gazing down at the floor. Our hips are still working on being squared. We're not opening up. We're dropping that left hip down and breathing. We're slowly going to stand up. We're going to let that left foot come next to the right. Oh, we're going to bring those feet together. We're going to sit back into our chair position again. Now this time, maybe we choose to reach those hands up or straight out, right? Like those little robot arms. And yogi's choice, this is wherever you want to work tonight. Last breath here, and we're going to release all the way back down to the floor. Bend those knees, hop or step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward, find a nice plank. We really haven't spent much time in plank, and now we're going to come down onto the knees, cross at the ankles, and away we go again. So those elbow creases are melting into the side body. Right, we're doing a little bit of action, a little bit of work here in those arms. And then let those feet release to the floor, hips release, and a nice back bend. Tucking those toes under, let's find downward facing dog. As we find our down dog, that right foot's going to stay heavy. That left leg is going to reach back. And we're going to arch the spine and pull the knee into the forehead and lift the back foot into our cheetah. And then we're going to press it back and swing it forward. Hold. Press yourself away from the floor. And then look forward and step the left foot between your hands. Again, popping that back foot in for warrior one on the other side. So maybe you want to open up your stance a little bit. Coming up. Hands can be a prayer to start. They could be on your hips. And then once you feel steady, arms up, right? Palms facing one another. We're trying to find nice, strong, straight arms here. Nice, full, deep breaths. Beautiful. Moving into our balance here. Hands could be a prayer. As we begin to slowly shift forward, popping that back foot in maybe to start, and then starting to hinge. Right, so if you like the idea of the blocks, use your blocks. That standing leg is working. It's wobbling, it's working, right? We want it to be supple. And then slowly, slowly, slowly stand up. Bring those feet together. You know where we're going, chair pose. Nice deep breaths. Sink as far down as you can. Go ahead and come back, bring the hands to the floor. We're going to step it back again or jump into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Bring the knees to the floor. And this time again, let's just fall into a child's pose. All right, a little bit of a reset. Hips to heels, notice how you're breathing, notice the heart beating. Notice your thoughts. Can you bring those thoughts back to in breath and out breath? All right, slowly coming back up, hands and knees. Again, tucking those toes under and lifting those hips. Downward facing dog. Go ahead and have that right foot stay heavy and reach that left leg up and back. Let's step that left foot between our hands and we're going to find a high lunge. So arms again up alongside the ears, closed hip position. Stay up on the ball of that back foot. Sink down as far as you can comfortably. So this is a tough working position here with our arms up. You can find goalpost arms if that feels good. You can alternate this as we begin to move our back knee up and down, or you can bring hands to prayer or hips. So lots of choices for our arms, okay? So we're going to slowly begin to bend the bottom knee, and if you'd like to bring the elbows down into goddess arms, you can do that. You just keep them lifted. And then stretch back. Exhale, knee goes down. Inhale, we lift. Exhale, knee goes down. Inhale, we lift. One more. Nice job. So we're going to bring that left hand now to that left hip. We're just going to tilt to the left. So we're stretching that left side, that right side body. A little bit of a balance again. And then coming back up, bring those hands to the floor. Step that left foot back to meet the right. Oh, that should be a good stretch on those hips. Nice deep breath. Working the other side, left foot heavy, reach the right leg back and then step it through. Coming up into a lunge on the other side. Great, setting up here. Sometimes I like to bring my hand to my back thigh, just to make sure that that back leg is lifted as high as it can go. Here's our starting position. Exhale, bring that knee down. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, knee down. Inhale straight. Remember, your arms can do whatever you want them to do. If it feels good to move them, move them. Ooh. Bring that right hand to the hip. Stretch that left arm up and then take a tilt over to the right. Coming back through center. Release your hands to the floor. Step your left foot back, or your right foot back to meet the left. Pedal out your feet. Just like a little walk here. Coming down onto the knees. Cross at the ankle, shift forward. Tilt that tailbone under. Rotate those elbow creases forward and a couple little push-ups. Slowly release the legs. Open the chest. Ooh, good job. Lift the hips up. Maybe a couple of rounds of cat-cow. Might feel good, or right into a child's pose. Whatever makes you happy tonight, do that. We have one more little series before we hit the deck. All right, coming back into our table if you weren't already there. Find those hips up in the sky, downward facing dog. Look forward and step the right foot between your hands and take that left heel to the floor. Now we're opening ourselves up into warrior two. First time we've really opened up the hips, yeah? So that back heel is a little further away than the toes. We want to find that nice sort of weightedness right between our legs, right? So we're not shifting too far forward and too far back. Arms are extended, and I want you to bring palms up tonight, which is going to help roll those shoulder blades down the back. Bend into that front knee as much as you possibly can. Gaze over those front fingers and breathe. From here, we're going to straighten the front leg. We're going to reach forward and come into triangle. So just simply drop that hand somewhere inside the leg or on the leg, on the floor. If you can do that, open the chest. If you feel like your chest is closing, hand is going to come to the hip. Come up higher on the leg, and I want you to work at that sort of sexy roll of the shoulder and see if you can look up. This is still triangle. Just because your arm isn't up or your hand isn't at the floor, right? It's not about coming to the floor. Let that left hand come to the hip if it wasn't already there. Bend into that right leg, arms up, and we take a nice gentle reverse warrior. Enjoying that stretch. Coming back through center. Hands come onto the hips. This time, rather than going down to the ground, turn those left toes in, right toes in, left toes out. So we're at the back of the mat now. So we're just going to find our warrior two on the other side. Bend into that left leg. That's right. We want to open up those hips. Arms come out. Gazing over those left fingers. Really work on taking that. If you want to play a little bit with the tilt of the pelvis, just to notice, like, is your booty sticking way far out? Right, so we're dropping it down. It's that idea of lengthening. Lift those palms up and breathe. Straightening that front leg, reach with that left hand, and then go ahead and find triangle on the other side. So you might notice one side feels different than the other, right? Find what works for you tonight. This side might be easier, this side might be harder. Might feel a little bit more strain here. Let that chest open. I mean, honestly, the minute I touch right here, it just like reminds me, open my chest, look up. If it doesn't crane your neck, right? If it hurts your neck, don't do that. All right, hand to the hip. Slowly bend into that left leg. Arms come out, warrior two. And then reverse the warrior. Bring those hands back out onto the hips. Straighten the front leg, turn the toes in. And let's make our way back to the front of the mat. Hands can come to the floor, step it back to downward facing dog. Last time, you could do any kind of a vinyasa you want here. You can do traditional knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. You can do what we've been doing, which are the little presses, right into a cobra. Wherever you are, take a vinyasa. We'll all meet in child's pose. That's the nice thing about this practice, right? It's a practice. When we come to the mat, we're different every single time. So we don't want to do the same thing every single time. We really want to honor what our body is asking of us. So we've done quite a bit of back bending, stretching out that back tonight in those vinyasas that we were doing. And as we come forward onto our belly, I want you to stack your right hand on top of your left and just let the forehead rest. You can let those heels begin to just peel away from one another, just for a breath or two. I'm just going to do 2 more little back bends in this position. So we're going to start to energize those legs, yeah? Bring those toes down, turn those, lift those kneecaps. We're going to press our pelvis down, and we're going to lift our upper body. So we're literally going to, like our forehead is glued to our right hand, we're just going to lift the arms and the head, right? Elbows are lifted. And exhale, slowly let it go. You can bring that left hand on top of the right now. Do the same thing on the other side. Energize those legs, press down through the toes, lift the knees. Inhale, lift the arms, lift the head. Exhale, release. Good job. Bringing the hands up underneath the shoulders. Let's go ahead and press up into a table. We're coming into pigeon. So if you don't like to do pigeon in a traditional way, you can go on your back and do it the way we began during class today with your right ankle on top of the left knee. Otherwise, you're just going to walk that left knee forward, right? Kind of take those toes out and then walk that, or the right leg, sorry, and then walk that left leg back. You're going to want your blocks. We're actually going to do a more awake pigeon here. So as we sit up, right, it's okay because we're sitting up, and if you don't have a lot of strong hip opening, it's okay to sort of let that right hip sit up a little bit higher tonight. So hands can come onto the blocks either on the high side or the medium side. We're just going to roll those shoulder blades back, work at bringing that left hip forward, turn on those glute muscles. And I want you to feel very regal here. Maybe a little bend in the elbows, maybe your elbows are straight. So walking those blocks back as far as they're comfortable for you. On the breath. And then you're going to take those blocks forward, right out in front of you. And you're going to let the forearms just rest here. Reach the chest forward. So my hands are sort of in a nice little easeful prayer position. I'm drawing my shoulders back and I'm reaching my chest towards the top of the mat. Maybe you want to drop the chin. Keep tractioning those hands back. Draw those shoulder blades back. Draw that left hip forward. Slowly, we're going to begin to come up. We're going to maybe move those blocks off to the side. As we come up, I want you to roll onto that right hip and just swing that left hip around, right, till it crosses over. So there's going to be lots of variations in this position, right? Maybe your foot is just right here. Maybe it can come back. Maybe you can bring one knee right on top of the other. Maybe you're like, I don't want to do any of that. Then you're just going to take that bottom leg knee out or straighten the bottom leg with that foot flex, right? So lots of options. If you came from your back, that's exactly what you're going to do, right? We're going to find this nice seated pose, this little shoelace pose here, sitting up nice and tall. And you might need to wiggle around a little bit, right? So really find the position that's going to be most comfortable for you tonight. And then we're going to take those arms into those nice goddess arms again. We're going to cross the left arm underneath the right and wrap as much as you want, reaching the fingertips up and away. You may stay here, or you can work at hinging forward. Now, when you hinge forward, I want you to think about the elbows coming forward in front of the knee. They may never touch, right? But it's this action of moving, bringing things forward, like lifting forward and up. That's going to keep that nice straight spine. That's where that hinge is coming from those hip flexors, right? So it's not this like falling over into yourself. If this is all you do for a hinge, that's it. That's great. That's a lot. Slowly come up, release those arms, and take them back behind you. As you roll back, you're going to release the feet. We're coming into a modified boat pose. So flexing those feet, chest is lifted, belly is strong. Maybe those calves are parallel to the mat. Nice. And then release. All right, so we're going to do that same sequence on the other side. So coming into table again, bring that left knee forward and walk the right leg back. Grab your blocks. Bring that nice awake pigeon here. Draw that right hip forward. So those blocks are coming back to whatever comfortable position you want them to be in. So long as we feel lifted, right? Stretch that right hip forward. Ooh, I feel it, I feel it, I feel it. Nice, soft, deep breaths. Soften your gaze and your jaw and your mouth. Notice if you're holding any tension. It's very easy to have tension in this pose. Try to release any tension. Let the shoulder blades move down the back. Don't let them come up towards your ears. And then gently we walk those blocks forward. Right. We bring those forearms on top of them. And again, this is the work now, right? Shoulders back. So it's this, I'm moving my upper body back and I'm moving my lower body forward. Like everything is coming into that midline. It's energetic. My belly is lifted. Hold. All right. So as we roll onto that left hip, we can take those blocks off the mat. And then we can roll that left leg around. And you might find that one, again, just like all of the poses, right? One side is easier to work with than the other. So again, I'm dealing with this injury and I have to sometimes modify what's happening on my my right hip right now. So just be kind to yourself. So once that right leg is over the left, let's bring those arms up. This time we're going to cross in the opposite direction. Right arm is underneath the left. And maybe we just stay right here or right here. Maybe we begin to hinge forward as if we want to hook. We really can't hook because we're not rounding our back, right? We're stretching from that pelvis. We're reaching forward, keeping those sitting bones rooted and down. Nice deep breaths. Slowly come up, release those arms, take them down behind you. That's it. And as you wiggle back out, find that boat pose again. Now this time, maybe you let those arms come up, yeah? Maybe you keep them back behind you. Whatever feels good. But we're gonna just move here. If your hands are back here, bend into the elbows, and I want you to do 3 little pulses. If your arms are up, you're gonna do them this way. Down and up, 3 times. At the end of the 3rd one, you can release all the way down to the floor. So you're lying all the way down on your back. Reach your arms up over the head, stretch your toes long. Maybe you want to point and flex the toes or let those ankles roll around a little bit. And then gently bring both knees into the chest. Walk around here, right? Just playing, moving, just seeing how the body's feeling. So we're going to bring cross the right knee over the left. Now we're just going to let the hands come out to the side. We're going to let those legs just melt over to the left. Maybe you can even look over your right shoulder. Go ahead and uncross your knees. Bring the right knee up and follow it with the left. And then cross the left knee over the right. Slowly let those legs fall to the right. And maybe you look over your right shoulder. Easy spinal twist. Go ahead and unwind those legs. Bring them back through center. Let's draw the knees in and maybe find that happy baby. Right, so we are grabbing hold of the inner or outer foot or the ankle. And we're drawing our knees down towards the floor, keeping our sacrum down. And then release that and take any last movement that you'd like to make before Shavasana, our final resting pose. And remember, right, Shavasana, the corpse pose means that we're not moving. So we're finding that position where we can really just allow ourselves time to process, right? Process what our body's just done. Let it move through us, all that energy. Letting the breath settle into the unconscious, right, where it lives most of the time. And we'll just be here for a couple of minutes. Nice deep breaths in and out. until we're settled. Slowly beginning to bring your attention back to the space. Letting the inhales get longer and deeper, exhales stronger, a little bit more vocal. Making some small movements as you're ready, moving fingers, toes, maybe that good morning stretch. Get those arms up over the head. And then as you're ready, making your way up to a comfortable seat. All right, maybe rolling over to one side, pressing yourself up. Wherever you are, just taking your time, right? We're not in a rush. There's no rush. Stay connected to you. Stay connected. It's very easy to start letting the outside start coming in. So try to fight that, right? This is time to be with the breath, the body, to feel the after effects of what you just did. So we're back in that same position we started in. What's changed? What hasn't? Right? Be inquisitive. What can you carry with you to the rest of your evening? What can you let go of that's no longer serving you? Let's bring the palms together in front of the heart. Lifting those elbows, let a smile come across your face. You win. You showed up. You did it. And I'll just close by saying namaste, which means the light in me sees, recognizes, and honors that light in each of you. Thank you, guys. It was so nice. I'm going to end the recording.